You're amazing, you're brave, you're courageous, you're cute, you're sweet, you're sexy, you're talented, you're beautiful, you can do anything that you want to do.
1, 2, 3.
What's up, y'all? It's your favorite YouTuber, the spiritual bad bitch. This video will have different parts. Partially I'll be here tanning in the daytime, and then the other part is some bits that I recorded in the evening. I really wanted to share with you guys some things on love that I really think will free you when you realize them, because it's things that have freed me. And I've been noticing that on social media a lot of stuff I see is based on ego games and about having the upper hand and about being in a position of power. And you know what? I'm not shitting on anybody who makes content on these things, because I did too. And I've made a lot of videos about things like how to get this person to be obsessed with you, how to manifest somebody. But I've been learning more and more that all of that stuff is based in control. Wanting to control the situation, wanting to control that somebody loves you. And I can understand where that comes from. It comes from a wounded space inside of ourselves of really wanting love. And therefore exerting this control through manifestation in order to obtain that feeling that we want to have. But as I always tell you guys, you know, nothing outside of yourself can give you a feeling that you can give to yourself on the inside. One woman said to me once, she'd met her partner and she was in a very happy relationship, and she said to me, real love finds you when you're not looking for it. And that was precisely what happened in my situation with my current partner. I'm now gonna switch to the other video of what I was saying in the nighttime and then kind of catch on from there. I've been realizing a lot of things about love that I never realized before. I've been thinking a lot about feminine and masculine energies, and I've always suppressed certain masculine energies inside of me, like my work ethic and the fact that I'm independent, I can take care of myself, I know how to make my own money, I'm very driven, I'm very ambitious, I know how to be direct and speak up for myself. I'm not afraid to be masculine sometimes. However, I would always suppress these qualities around men out of fear that they would be seen as something bad around a man, or that they would intimidate a man or something like that. But I knew that the right man would cherish all those parts inside of me and not want me to hide that. And that's the kind of relationship that I'm in right now, where I feel like I'm completely cherished for who I am. And my partner makes me feel like I don't have to be less of what I am, but he makes me feel like I can actually be even more of that. They say that people can only meet you as deeply as they've met themselves, and I think that that is the case as well in my relationship, that a lot of parts that I have in me, I used to date people who didn't have these parts within them, so of course they wouldn't be able to see that. But since my partner has a lot of these parts inside of himself, and he's multifaceted like I am, it enables us to see each other completely. And honestly, I don't think there's anything more golden than that. My relationship is beyond the physical. And relationships in the past for me have always been very surface level, very superficial. I feel like guys wanted to date me because I was a trophy to them, and not because they actually wanted to be with somebody like me. People always wanted me to be less of what I am. And there's such a feeling of belonging when you're with somebody that wants you to be exactly who you are authentically. I've been noticing that our world doesn't really ever talk about unconditional love, which is not having any control over somebody else's actions and whether they love you or not, but allowing them to be exactly who they are freely, while also allowing yourself to be who you want to be freely. I remember speaking to this couple in Bali, and they'd been together for years. They were so beautiful and they just radiated that happiness. And I asked them, what's your secret? What's your secret to like staying with each other? And they said, maintaining individuality. I thought that was so interesting because, you know, I was expecting to hear something like, I don't know, you gotta make sure you do this for your partner, you gotta make sure that. But as I go on in life and I'm in this relationship myself, I'm seeing that a relationship is an amplifier of what you have within. So if you are dissatisfied with your life and unhappy within, or you are not excited about your life, your relationship is going to amplify that feeling. In other words, it has nothing to do with your partner or the relationship being unsatisfying, but rather the fact that you are unhappy with your life and you need to take responsibility for that and do something about it, opposed to projecting it onto your partner. And that is something that I think a lot of us do. We think that a relationship is supposed to make us happy, it's supposed to give us something, but in actuality, it's not. I get back to this truth all the time because I felt like, well, maybe this person isn't right because I'm feeling lost and I'm feeling confused, and that's their fault. Instead of realizing, oh wait a minute, it's because I have codependency issues that I need to work on. Oh wait a minute, I'm not doing the things that I usually would do if I was single that make me happy, like working out, like going dancing, like doing the things that I love. I often neglect myself when I get into romantic situations because I must have some kind of belief system in myself that in order to be worthy of love, I have to completely neglect myself and I have to cater to this person. But when I heard about this couple in Bali saying, no, it's maintaining individuality that made their relationship successful in the long term, it gave me a sense of, wow, this is so powerful, because really, like, our happiness is always in our hands, you know? Now, another thing that I've been learning about relationships, being in my own and, you know, just experiencing love, and you know what, this advice I'm giving in this video is not just from my current situation, but it's actually like accumulated knowledge, I would say, of all the fuckery of the past relationships I've been in. And so what I learned in my last relationship that I was in Bali last year, I used to give with an expectation attached to it. When I was giving to somebody, I actually wasn't giving from my cup being full, as I say, but I was giving from an empty cup of wanting to receive love. So in other words, I was giving from a space for love and not from love. So I call this like the love cup inside of yourself, and it's something I learned about giving. I was watching a lot of videos last year on the concept of overgiving, which is essentially when we are constantly giving and we think we're doing it because we're being a good person, but in actuality, it's giving from a place of thinking that we are not worthy or good enough. So we just always give to cover up the fact that we don't feel worthy within, and to cover up the fact that we are not taking responsibility for our own cup inside of ourselves that we need to fill up. Like I was saying before, you know, happiness is not in someone else's hands, but in your hands. So you must always give to yourself first until your cup is overflowing. And then when your cup is overflowing, you are able to give to others, and it becomes a selfless act of giving. It's not something that you are doing so that you can get something in return. And it's super sneaky. I didn't think that I was this person until I realized I felt resentful and bitter. I want to give you a very, very like personal example. I used to be a person who excessively would give sexually, because I thought that if I don't do this, he's gonna cheat on me. This was a belief system I always had. And when I started becoming aware last year of this concept of overgiving, I became very bitter and resentful because I was doing it in that relationship too. I was constantly giving to him because deep down I wanted to receive, but I couldn't say that. I couldn't articulate that I just wanted to be given something, you know? I became very bitter. Oh, this motherfucker, I've given so much to him and he's given nothing back to me. Then as time went on, I realized it's actually my fault for giving from a empty cup. And I've done this in friendships too. I would always empower people and then I wouldn't receive it back and I would get resentful. But I realized that when I'm doing this, people actually think that I want to do this. They're not realizing that I'm giving from an empty cup of wanting to receive. They're just thinking I'm giving because I want to give. And that's truly the way that it should be. So as soon as I realized that, I stopped giving. I just didn't give to anybody but myself. And eventually my cup got full enough that I was able to do small acts of giving that really, truly had no expectation attached to it. This is, by the way, something that I have noticed also kind of happens when you're with the right person. So when I met my partner, my current partner, I met him when I was really not looking for love, which meant that I wasn't trying to win somebody over. I was just being me. And it was also mirroring his energy because my partner was also and is very authentic. It's just fully himself and doesn't do things that he doesn't want to do. And sometimes, right, I have heard people say, but what if I risk giving so much to this person and I don't get anything back? That's not fair. What if it doesn't work out? Then that's just a waste of time. But really, that's getting it fucking twisted again, and it's that conditional love. It's not unconditional. And it's again understanding that when you are giving to somebody, you're not giving to them, you're giving to yourself. It actually always comes from within and it always circles back to you. It's kind of the same as asking, why should I be a good person if there's so many bad people in the world? Well, my question to you is, why would you want to stoop to that level? Why would you not want to lead by example and be a good person to elevate the frequency? Why would you want to go with what's already there? There's a law in physics that says energy cannot be made or destroyed. It can only be transferred. And I always think about this law because it implies that when we give to other people, the energy is going somewhere and it will always, without a fail, circle back to us. So it really is, again, this thing of do it from love and not for love. You know, something else I'm learning in this relationship is we cannot control life. As I've said in one of my past videos, life requires us to surrender, and control is an illusion. And I have often been the kind of person that if things didn't go my way in a relationship, I would toss away something beautiful just because it wasn't going the way that I wanted it to go. Now, I do think from a higher perspective, those relationships weren't meant to work out, but I'm gonna just be honest with you, I never had a relationship that went beyond 3 months. And I always blamed those people. I was pushing it away because, again, love requires us to surrender, and I didn't know how to do that. I wanted to control more. And I think it's because of how out of control my childhood felt that I want to control love. And it's like when love really comes into my life, I'm almost like wired to push it away, and I'm learning to work on that. And my therapist even asked me, what story do you want to live? Do you want to live that of your parents, or do you want to live your own? And it's like, I want to live my own. So I've just been kind of deciding what that means for me, and it means like committing to a relationship, committing to myself and my highest growth. I've noticed that I think the reason why relationships can be so difficult is because of what I was saying before. It amplifies what's within ourselves. There is nothing in this world that can trigger your wounds more than being in a romantic relationship or an intimate relationship. It could even be a friendship that is very close. And I remember this one woman saying something, this really stuck with me, and it's like any relationship, right? She said, intimacy cannot deepen without conflict. And I agree with that. It basically means that in any relationship that is intimate comes a point where there's a disagreement. It simply means there's some kind of situation where people have to be honest with each other and speak their truth and communicate. And I have always avoided that. I've been very avoidant, even in my friendships. I've not wanted to discuss, I've not wanted confrontation, I've not wanted to say how I feel, but I've noticed that this is really the root of what good communication is allowing ourselves to talk about conflict and what makes us uncomfortable, not necessarily to change something, but just to be heard. Because often when we voice what we're really feeling inside, we set it free to open up about what bothers us or about our needs. And I think that that's like a core thing that I've been seeing on social media is a lot of people want to go, oh, this is a red flag, oh, you should leave him, this and that. But everybody has red flags, and I think that a lot of things can be worked out with unconditional love and trust and understanding and compassion on both ends, of course. Don't get me wrong, when I talk about unconditional love, I don't mean tolerating bullshit, but I'm just talking about accepting somebody as they are. And if you can't accept somebody as they are, then you may be with the wrong person. But I even read this in this book once. He talked about all of our self-sabotaging behaviors. I can't remember what the book was called. I'll put a picture up here when I'm editing this video. There's one chapter in the book, he's a counselor, and he talked about being in a room of people and asking, how many of you think that your partner should change? Raise your hands. And everybody raised their hands. And he said, most of the time, when we want somebody else to change, it's actually pointing at us and the things that we need to change. And then he talked about you cannot force somebody to change, but you can only communicate what you feel, what makes you uncomfortable, and accept somebody for who they are, and then they might change. And I've noticed this with people in my family even, like instead of resisting so much who they are, I just need to set boundaries for myself of how much I can be around something or what I tolerate and don't tolerate. But I do also have to come from a space of accepting who they are, and then I've noticed they do change. I see a lot of people run into this problem with relationships where they always want their partner to change, but it's like, you be the change that you want to see. And often when I'm unhappy, I have to really go within, and to be honest, in my relationship I've realized that my dissatisfaction and unhappiness has never really come from my partner, because nothing is ever personal, but it's come from stuff within myself that is unresolved, or my wounds coming up and then me projecting that onto them. Or it's coming from the fact that, again, I'm not doing enough for myself to make me happy. But when I'm doing the things that I need to do to make me happy, it's not really much that bothers me about people, to be honest. Something else that my best friend said to me that I've been learning in this relationship is, he said, love doesn't have to be perfect, it has to be honest. And this one, my fucking god, my partner is incredibly honest with me, to the point where sometimes it makes me uncomfortable, and I'm like, why is he telling me this? Why is he being so honest? But in actuality, it's a fucking beautiful thing, because it's authentic, and it's the only way that you can really have steady growth with a person is when you're always being honest with each other. And my best friend always asked me, in other dating situations I've been in the past, he would ask me, do you want a relationship that is fully based on authenticity, or do you want there to be dishonesty? And I was like, no, I want it to be fully authentic. And it's so easy for us to say this, but then when we're actually in it, when somebody's being honest, it can bring up our wounds. And then I have to always remind myself, this isn't about you, honey. This is not about you right now. This is about him just communicating something honestly that he feels about his life or about something, and it's got nothing to do with you. But in a relationship, like in our childhood, when we are kids to our parents, we take everything personally, and we really have to remind ourselves that it's not personal. I used to have this a lot as well towards my mother. She would like criticize certain artistic things that I would do, and I always took it so personally, and I would almost have like hatred towards her, because her criticizing me made me feel like I'm not good enough. It made me feel like I can't do the things that I want to do. But in actuality, I've noticed now that her criticism has nothing to do with me, but with the way that she speaks to herself. And another thing is, again, she's just being honest about what she thinks and feels. Why do I have to take that to heart and have hatred or resentment towards her? I don't. And I think that's what I've been working on, is like releasing that. And something too with unconditional love, when we learn to accept other people, we also forgive them. There's a saying which goes, anger is like throwing hot coal at somebody. You get burned too. And I resonate with that one. And since my therapist asked me that question of whose story do you want to live, that of your parents or your own, she's also made me think about the fact that I need to really work on forgiveness, and particularly, you know, towards family members and people who've done me wrong in the past. But I've noticed that forgiveness is not about other people, it's actually about you. And when you can forgive others, it's your heart that can feel pure and cleansed and light. Whereas when we hold grudges and resentment, it's actually like poisoning us from the inside. It's been a lot in this video, it's been a bit all over the place, but I do hope that you guys enjoyed this. I hope that you got something from it. I like to share different things every week, so if you like to be I'm not good at this whole like selling my YouTube channel. Just fucking subscribe if you want to, and if you don't, you don't. Anyways, I'm sending you so much love and light, and I love you. Thank you for being here.